Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody know that the stream is currently on the air. Glad you enjoyed Temptation of John Haynes and John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, Keating Rourke. I'm really glad you enjoyed both of those stories. I really enjoyed writing them. And the block was actually inspired by rapper Biggie Smalls. So that's a little tidbit. And with Temptation of John Haynes, that whole story was based on something my mother told me. She said that the devil didn't like me. So I wanted to throw a middle finger up at the devil. So I wrote The Temptation of John Haynes. And before I get into tonight's topic, I just wanted everybody to know that my birthday is coming up in 30 minutes, and I will be turning 50 years old at about 2 a.m. tonight. So I am going to be celebrating my 50th birthday tomorrow. And as I celebrate my 50th birthday, I really want to reflect on it for a minute because I really thank God that I have made a lot of progress over the last 15 years as I've been trying to keep going as the Most High has told me to do. And I've made a lot of progress in trying to build up my SJS Direct imprint. I've gone out here and written over 80 books, and I've gone out here and built up a YouTube channel, and I've built up a lot of sales in that time. And I've been out here working. My birthday is tomorrow, D-Wood 78 Part 2, so it's gonna be my 50th birthday, and I really am reflecting on what on that milestone because there was a lot I really wanted to do, and still a lot that I want to do before I get any older. Because this whole thing, as related to my 50th birthday, really makes me think about how little time we have on this earth and how precious that time is on this earth, and how you really want to appreciate that time and make the most of that time in your life because you only get one life to live. So you just don't want to take it for granted. And that's something I have actually been doing ever since I was about 7 years old when I had a brain aneurysm. And it after I had that whole thing happen to me, it really made me want to go out here and want to work towards accomplishing goals in my life. I've made me want to, try to persevere to be the very best person I could be because a lot of people would tell me that I was retarded. They would tell me I was slow. And I wanted to show people how intelligent I was. And I wanted to show them that I could be as capable as anybody else out here. And that was a goal that I had ever since I was a boy. And I wanted to grow into manhood and hope to go out here and be able to basically prove that I could hold my own with other people. That was something that I wanted to do. And one of the things I wanted to do that I don't think I'll ever get a chance to do is be able to work a full-time job. So at this age, I don't think that there are many prospects for me as related to getting another job. So that's one of the things that saddens me. I wanted to go out here and be able to do things on a full-time job like that. But unfortunately, at this age, I don't really see that happening. And another thing that I wanted to do that I'm not going to be able to do is get the respect of my father, because he passed away in 2017. That was something that I wanted to do, but I'm not going to be able to do it because I thought I would be able to go out here and do something and accomplish something really great. But I'm still trying to accomplish something great, but I wanted him to see me do something. And I wanted my family to see me have some sort of success. Those were things that I wanted to do, but I'm still trying to keep pushing towards those goals. So that's the thing that's really got me really thinking and reflecting on things, because at 50, you really don't have a lot of time to really get something going. And that's something that I've been trying to do for the last 15 years or so, working on the SJS Direct Imprint, working on the YouTube channel, working on the books. That's what I've been doing, and that's what I've been trying to persevere, because I understand how little time we have in this world and why you can't really take life for granted. So that was really one of the things that made me really reflect on things as related to my life at this point. And being 50, it really, again, makes me really think about things, because, again, at this point, you really think about how little time you have left. And it's something that makes me appreciate every moment in life out here. And I don't want to take it for granted. So that's why I'm like really pushing to get my goals out here that I want to do. I really want to go out here and do another comic. I want to get another comic out here, crowdfunded and successful. That's one long-term goal I have. Another one is getting a bestseller out here. That's something I want to do. And I really want to grow this channel up to possibly 50 or 100,000 subscribers if I can. These are goals that I have that I want to do, hopefully in the future. And I'm hoping you guys will go out here and help me towards those goals. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to get ready to get into tonight's topic. But before I get into tonight's topic, I want everybody to go out here and pick up the SJS Direct 2023 books, John Haynes 1987 and John Haynes Godbreaker, which are up on Amazon.com right now in paperback and Kindle format. And I want everybody to head over to Lulu.com and pick up a copy of John Haynes at Death's Door. Now, I also want to give everybody an update on some projects I'm working on. The SJS Direct 2024 books, I've done the second round of editing. So next year, you're going to get Isis, Dark Incubus, John Haynes, Illuminati, and Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. Those are the 2024 books. And I'm right now doing some work on some new comic scripts. So I'm still out here putting in the work, and I'm hoping to go out here and have some quality books for you. I'm also talked to Bill Walko about doing a cover refresh for Isis Amari's Revenge. So these are all projects that are coming up in 2024, and I hope you guys will pick up those projects. Now, with all that said, I'm going to get into tonight's topic. And tonight's topic was brought to me by one of my viewers on IG, who sent me a video of this woman and sent me a video of this woman who wanted to talk about how Black couples are always fighting about money, and asked the question, are Black people the only ones who talk about money in relationships? So I'm going to run the video of what she said, and then I'll go into my analysis.
The lack of tradition in Black culture is killing relationships. That's the main thing, right?
Black people are the only people that talk about money in relationships.
It's crazy.
Because other cultures just know the man is going to be the caretaker or the provider. Like, other cultures just know that. But when I say it, niggas in the comments like, what the fuck, this lazy bitch, what's she talking about? So every other culture understands the man is the provider and the woman is a nurturer. That's not even a conversation that they have, because they already know it. They grow up knowing that. Yeah. Black people are the only people that see our moms do more than our dads. And so we have a reverse thinking about it. We think, oh, well, my mom did it so I could do it, or my mom did it so she can do it. That's why so many Black women are unmarried, because we don't have roles. Gender roles are not a bad thing in marriage. Everyone needs to have their, if I don't know my role, how do I know what part I'm playing in anything? Sure. When you're on a basketball team, everybody has their position, everybody has their role. You need to know what your role is. And a woman's role is the nurturer, and if you have kids, the caregiver, and the man's role is the provider, and he brings in the money. He brings in the money, and the woman manages it, and that's how the household's supposed to run.
The lack of tradition in Black culture is killing relationships. That's the main thing, right?
Black people are the only people that talk about money in relationships.
It's crazy.
Now, she says that, now in the beginning, the guy says, oh, the lack of tradition is killing Black relationships. But this young man really needs to go out here and, as I see it, study his history, or better yet, go out here and pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, to understand why there are no traditional roles as related to Black relationships. Now, when it comes to the whole issue of Black couples having issues regarding money, that goes all the way back to the days of Black people being emancipated from slavery. And the reason why we've got a lot of Black people who have issues regarding money is because white supremacy won't let the Black man go out here and be able to make a living. No, due to white supremacy going out here and denying Black men equal opportunity in the job market, and a lot of saboteurs and terrorists terrorizing Black people who owned Black-owned businesses during the days of the Jim Crow South. This is the reason why we have a lot of issues as related to Black people and finance, because a lot of Black people, our economic base is destabilized. And when it comes to Black men and Black women, we have a problem that's related to our money being destabilized, because every everyday working Black man out here, we know that we could possibly lose our job at any time and for any arbitrary reason, because what can happen to a Black man is he's just going about his business, and what will happen is they won't have any everything bagels or dark roast coffee at the coffee shop or the Arabone store, and that white guy will be mad about the lack of coffee or everything bagels, and he'll go out here and look to take his anger out on that Black man and have that Black man fired from that job. So a Black man's employment has never really been stable ever since the days of Black people getting their freedom, and Black people have not really had the economic freedom that many white people and non-Black people have been allowed to have in this country. No, Black people have not really been allowed to have that economic freedom, and because we haven't been allowed to have that economic freedom, we haven't really been able to get a secure economic base, even though we have $3.3 trillion in spending power of cash and credit. So when I listen to the first part of this whole discussion, I have to come in and say, you know, Black people, we have issues with money due to all of the racism that Black men encounter in the job market, and the fact that whenever we go out here and look to build businesses, we face resistance on two sides. One, we have saboteurs from the white and non-Black community looking to undermine Black business. And two, we suffer from a lack of support from Black people supporting businesses. This is what I ran into after I lost my job in about 2008, as related to when I was trying to start the SJS Direct imprint, and I went to the Harlem Book Fair. When I went to the Harlem Book Fair, I was basically ignored as I was putting out positive Black fiction. Now, I did make some mistakes as related to covers and things like that, but I was just basically ignored, and that made it where I couldn't go out here and look to invest any more money in shows. And that's, again, is what led to me going online. So a lot of Black businesses, we want to go out here and build, but we don't get that support outside. And again, it's a major problem. So this is one of the things that leads to a lot of Black people having issues with finance, and those issues with finance have a major impact on Black people's personal lives. So when I listen to that part of the discussion where they're talking about how there's an issue with Black people as related to money. Again, these issues have a foundation in white supremacy's undermining of the Black economy, and we get that undermining as related to jobs, and we also get that discrimination that keeps us out of the job market. That's something I ran into myself when I was looking for a job as a CUNY office assistant with the civil service. I mean, active discrimination against Black men. And what they'll do is go out here and hire Black women. And the Black women, a lot of them, because they're brainwashed, will go out here and look to go out here and deny Black men job opportunities. A lot of these women, because they're emotional, will start projecting all the issues they have with Black men that they've had in their lives onto Black candidates. And some of the white women will go out here and use their racism, and both of them will deny a Black man an opportunity to go out here and make a living and be able to have a stable base of income. Moreover, you've got these Black male bootlicks who will go out here and look to deny a Black man opportunities to make a living. And again, all of these things lead to the financial issues that many Black men deal with, and these financial issues that Black men deal with. These are the things that can lead to a lot of friction between himself and his woman as related to him being in a traditional role as a man, because it's hard to be in a traditional role as a man, as a leader, when you cannot go out here and provide for your family because your economic base has been destabilized, and your economic base is destabilized because it's not Black people hiring Black people. No, Black people have to go out here and look to try to get jobs from whites and non-Blacks. And oftentimes they run into a buffer from Black women. And again, this is the thing that leads to a lot of friction because a Black man wants to be in that traditional role. He wants to be in that role as leader. He wants to be in that role as protector. He wants to be in that role of provider. But if he cannot provide anything as related to economic resources, what this does is make it harder for that man to lead, because in a capitalist country, that man can't get respect because he does not have the economic resources on the level of the whites and non-Blacks. So when I listen to this about Black people talking about money, money is a major issue, and money is a major issue because many Black men, we want to go out here and make that money. I mean, that was something I wanted to do ever since about 1994. What we would do is go out here and I would try to go out here and get these jobs, but I would always run into people talking about, you don't have this degree, you don't have this experience. Meanwhile, a white guy with a GED or an Asian guy with a GED can come in, start working almost automatically, and he's building while I'm trying to find a way in. And that's the thing that leads to a lot of Black men who have issues about money, because when we try to get in the door to get somewhere, we can't get in. And when we try to get in, sometimes we don't even get support from our own Black women as related to these jobs. They will go out here and try to go out here and look for reasons to deny us. So when I listen to that first part, and they're saying, oh, Black people always talking about money because they can't do the traditional roles. Well, it's hard to do that because a Black man, again, he's been wanting to get work for years. This is something that has been presented in media like The Raisin and The Sun and many other forms of media. Black men want to go out here and work, but the whole thing is white supremacy doesn't want Black men working because white supremacy and those buffer minorities don't want to compete with a Black man. And because they don't want to compete with Black men, they go out of their way to actively go out here and find a way to deny a Black man an opportunity to go out here and build. And also you have government programs like affirmative action brought up to, again, correct past discrimination. But instead of correcting the past discrimination, they create current and ongoing discrimination. And that also makes it where a lot of Black men really start to have problems with Black women, because again, if you cannot provide them, you don't really have anything to offer economically. as related to a leadership role. And most women won't respect you because if you're not out here providing any sort of resources or having any resources to offer, then she doesn't really see you as somebody she should regard. And that's where a lot of the friction starts between Black men and Black women. So I'm going to have
other cultures just know the man is going to be the caretaker or the provider. Like other cultures just know that. But when I say it, niggas in the comments like, what the fuck, this lazy bitch.
Well, I'm going to go into this part right here where she says that in other cultures, they know that the man is the protector and the provider and knows his roles. Well, a lot of Black men don't know their roles. And if this woman wants to find out why those men don't know their roles, then she needs to go out here and read a history book or go read my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, or The Woman Crisis, because the reason why many of these Black males don't know their roles is because the Black women of the baby boomer generation went out here and looked to side with white feminism during the civil rights movement. Now, because these women suffered a lot of racism during Jim Crow and were not able to live the lives like white women, many of these white Black women, what they did was go out here and they wanted to abandon many of the Black men because they were not able to maintain job security. Now, a Black man, because he couldn't maintain job security, because most white supremacists would look for any arbitrary reason to fire a Black man, this is what put a lot of friction between the Black man and the Black woman. And as Black women were frustrated about seeing their Black men not being able to provide, they wanted to abandon the traditional roles because the traditional role of helpmeet really wasn't helping them because the system of white supremacy was oppressing the Black man, and that oppression led to the Black woman looking for a way out, and that way out was offered by white leftists who were creating a welfare state in order to create a permanent underclass, and that permanent underclass was something they wanted to maintain to keep Black people in a new form of de facto slavery, because that's what welfare really was. So many Black women don't know their traditional roles because they wanted to join the feminist movement and they wanted a more stable economic base. And because they wanted a more stable economic base, what they did was go out here and join the welfare roles. And others basically wanted to go out here and be a part of corporate America. And in order to do both of those things, be a part of the welfare state or be a part of corporate America, many Black women wanted to turn away from Black men because in order to get welfare, you had to not have the father in the home, one, and two, you had to go out here when you wanted these jobs. In many cases, these women didn't want to have a Black man in their lives because the feminists told them that the Black man was oppressing them, even though the Black man did not control anything in the economy. I mean, the Black man didn't have any control over economics or politics. Yes, there were Black-owned businesses, but those Black-owned businesses didn't really have that much influence to be able to create political policies or be able to have a strong impact where people go out here and create corporations to hire hundreds of Black people. No, many Black-owned businesses were usually small or mid-range at best. So what this woman is saying, many Black women don't know their roles. Well, that is due to a generation of women turning their backs on Black men, not wanting to support the leadership of Black men, and not wanting to be a part of having a relationship with Black men. So if she wants to find out why many women today don't know their roles, then she needs to go out here and go talk to most of those grandmothers and great-grandmothers who were a part of the feminist movement. They're the reason why nobody knows their roles, because they abandoned the roles that the Most High established in order to be a part of white supremacy. Because because they wanted to go out here and submit to the authority of white supremacy and the authority of leftists as related to their welfare state and corporate America. This is the reason why many women don't know their roles, and many women don't have respect for their roles, don't have respect for Black men, don't have respect for Black male authority, and don't want to be a part of the roles that were established by God's natural order. This is the reason why most Black women don't know their roles. And again, if this woman did some research, she would find out it was her grandmothers and great-grandmothers who basically were the ones who changed the roles because they wanted to gain white acceptance and white approval, and they wanted to be a part of a white world in order to gain better economic stability.
What's she talking about?
So
every other culture understands the man is the provider and the woman is a nurturer. That's not even a conversation that they have because they already know it. They grow up knowing that. Yeah. Black people are the only people that see our moms do more than our dads.
Well, the reason why you see your mother doing more than your dad is because most of these Black women, again, have been indoctrinated into feminism. And because they've been indoctrinated into feminism, what they do is they believe that they have been put into a de facto leadership role. And as they've been put into a de facto leadership role, what happens is this is the reason why the Black woman does more. And again, this is done by design by white supremacy, and it's done by design by white supremacy in order to emasculate the Black man. And it's designed to make it where the Black man gets a feeling of worthlessness as related to his manhood and his masculinity. Because what white supremacy wants to do is, again, put the Black man in a second-class status and take him out of his God-given role as head, leader, and steward over the Black community. And what they want to do is take the Black man out of his traditional role as a man and a head by giving the Black woman the power over the home as the de facto head of household. And as she's given the role of de facto head of household, what happens to that Black home is that that man is emasculated. That man is placed in a position where he's lower than the children and lower than a pet dog. And he's put in that position because this woman at this point basically has no respect for that Black man. And she has no respect for that Black man because she basically sees that Black man as less than a child and less than a pet dog, because she sees that he cannot lead, he cannot provide, and he cannot go out here and do the things that other men do. And this is where many of the Black women out here learn that they cannot count on a Black man, and they learn that they cannot trust a Black man because his ability to make money is always destabilized, and it's always destabilized because many of these individuals, white and non-Black, they want to make sure that he remains at the bottom, because when a Black man is at the bottom, their entire world is smooth, and their world is smooth because without a Black man there to be a competitor, that makes it where many of these Black women, and not Black women, but these white men can feel secure as related to their world in knowing that as long as that Black man remains at the bottom, they can go out here and feel secure about their place at the top. So when I listen to this woman, again, she's sitting there talking about, how these roles are. But the reason why these roles are is because, again, white supremacy does not want you to see a Black man with these traditional roles, because they make 97% of the 3.3 trillion in cash and credit that Black people have. And they go out here, they make that money off of codependent Black people being misled by a Black female matriarch. And that matriarch is one that goes out here and is caught up in her emotions about being a consumer. This is something I go in depth on in my book, The Woman Crisis, and why 70% of Black women are single. What they do is go out here and use the black woman to be this consumer. And that prevents the black community from producing men who can go out here and build. Because if there are black men going out here to build, what happens is that means that there's competition. And if they keep the black man out of his traditional role, keep the black woman in a de facto role, that allows them to make money off the black community. And this is the main reason why we have no black-owned businesses, because most of these black women and many of the spellbound black men, they are clout chasing for white acceptance. So they believe that the white man's ice and the non-black man's ice is colder. And this is why they want to go out here to these Arab corner grocery stores, Indian fast food restaurants, Chinese restaurants, Hispanic bodegas, white supermarkets, and have even lost industries like black hair care, because we have black men and women who don't know their roles and don't know their roles as related to economics. What's going on, Travania Joseph? What's going on, Z-Ken, Pat Riot, One Phobos, Keating Rourke, Kevin Lips, David Bowman, Far Side of the Fan. I don't know if I want to take a driver's test because I have real bad anxiety. What's going on, Valor, Gabriel Bradley, EA affiliate. Glad to see you all here. And I'm going to play a little bit more because as I listened to her.
So we have a reverse thinking about it. We think, oh, well, my mom did it, so I could do it. Or my mom.
Well, the reason why you got that reverse thinking, again, is because that generation of black women basically, again, got indoctrinated into white feminism. And when they got indoctrinated into white feminism, what happened is the roles got reversed because, again, the woman was given a leadership role by white supremacy. The woman was given economic power by white supremacy to control the black economy. The woman was given economic power. And when the black woman was given economic power by the white supremacist, that's why we have all of these women and the roles being reversed. The reason why we have the roles reversed is because the white supremacy wants to keep the black community in, again, a permanent underclass. And the way you keep the black community in a permanent underclass is by making sure that there are no black people working at all, no black men working at all, because again, black men are the builders and they are the ones who lead and control the community when you have people in their traditional roles. You can read more about this in why 70% of black women are single. That's on Amazon.com. I mean, I go hard in depth on this, and it's something that I really want people to know about why the black community is in the place that it is right now. What's going on, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare? Glad to see you here. Thank you for the birthday wishes. It's 4 minutes before that happens, but I really want to, again, continue talking about this subject because another viewer, he wanted me to talk about this and wanted me to do a video on it, but I wanted to do a live on it because I really want to get into this subject and really want to go out here and break this subject down as related to this woman.
Did it so she can do. That's why so many black women are unmarried, because we don't have roles. Gender roles are not.
Well, the reason why 70% of black women are not married is because many black women learned feminism, and under feminism, they did not learn their traditional roles. Again, because that generation of baby boomer black women and silent generation black women did not learn their gender roles because of white supremacy undermining the black economy. This is the reason why many of these black women don't know their roles as related to God's order. No, those women don't know their roles are to be a helpmeet and a support to a black man, because they were never taught that at all. Because as they got indoctrinated into feminism, they believed that they did not need a man. They were told that they did not need a man. And because you had white leftist men going out here and giving them the money in the welfare state and giving them entry-level jobs, this is where many black women learned that they did not need a man, because they were actually getting all of these things from a group of wealthy white men. So when they say that they didn't need a man, they didn't need a black man, but they were getting resources from men, getting resources from white leftist men who, again, made them the de facto heads of household and made it where they didn't have to follow the traditional lead of a man, because as long as they got their money from white zaddies, they didn't have to submit to the authority of a man in a traditional relationship. And they didn't have to submit to the authority of a man who was in a traditional relationship, because as long as they could go back to the welfare state or go back to the corporate boss, they had economic security. So they did not have to depend on the economic security of a man, a black man. And again, this is where we have the issues between black men and black women as related to money, because if a man is making his own money and he wants to build a household, it's hard for him to do that with a woman who is, one, indoctrinated into feminism, to believe that, one, she's superior to that man, two, believes she does not need that man, three, believes that she can go out here and always see men as disposable. So this black woman basically has learned she doesn't need a man. So this woman doesn't understand how things have been shaped by white feminism to undermine black on black relationships, and how this undermining of black on black relationships basically has made it where many black women don't know their traditional role of helpmeet, because the traditional role of helpmeet that was presented in the Bible means that a woman has to look to help the man by following his lead. But most black women have been raised over the last 40 to 60 years by a lot of things like our media, such as the Oprah Winfrey Show, The Color Purple, and many Tyler Perry movies, to believe she does not need a man. And if a man is an option, he's one that she can go out here and pick whatever she wants. No man needs to be vetted and seen for his values and character. No, most women, they don't know how to even choose a man, because they learn to choose from their emotions. Oh, he cute. Oh, he got a nice car. But they don't look at the values and their character, because many of these girls never had fathers, because when there were fathers in the home, many of these guys would get vetted. But the thing is, there's no vetting process and no standards. And because there are no standards due to the independent woman narratives that Valor is talking about, that many women don't know what the standards for a man is. So how can you go out here and be a traditional woman if you don't know your role? And how can you know how to work with a man when you never had a father in your life? Two critical questions that I would propose to this woman. How do you know how to submit to the authority of a man? How do you know your role when you've never gone out here and read your Bible? Because the black pastor, he ain't talking about this. No, the black pastor, he won't say a word about this. And because the black pastor won't say a word about this, what happens is many of these women don't know their traditional roles, because the black pastor has been compromised. The black pastor has been out here looking to just get the tithes from the women. I go into this in why 70% of black women are single. Again, he wants to get the tithes, so he's compromised with white supremacy to not teach these women the word in the scriptures. And because he doesn't teach it, what happens is women don't know their roles. Moreover, because the father has been kicked out of the home, many of these women are not even equipped and mentally ready to be able to serve a man the way God wants a woman to serve a man. So these women, again, are ill-equipped as related to traditional roles, whereas white and non-blacks, they are, while there is feminism, when I look at these other communities, there are traditional roles. And again, that's protected because the women in those cultures go out of their way to protect their culture. It goes back to something the late David Carroll used to say about the old African proverb, a race can rise no higher than the moral position of its women. And as the woman goes, so goes the race. So This is the issue that the black community has. We are outside the order of God. And again, the moral position of these women is to be a part of white feminism and white supremacy. And that's why the black community doesn't know what role it has or as related to God or God's order. It's a lost and rudderless ship. And again, you have the blind leading the blind and both falling into a ditch.
Bad thing in marriage. Everyone needs to have their, if I don't know my role, how do I know what part I'm playing in anything? Sure. When you're on a basketball team, everybody has their position, everybody has their role. You need to know what.
Well, the reason why, again, you don't know your role and your position, again, we go back to the destruction of the black family in the 1960s. The reason why nobody knows their role anymore is, again, because most black women, again, wanted to gain that economic security. And because they wanted to get that economic security, they forsook the word of God, which was teaching you about your roles. Moreover, the black pastor wasn't teaching you about your role. So you don't know your role because you just went out here. Your mother was your first teacher. Your mother was the first one who was supposed to teach you about being a helpmeet. But if your mother has been indoctrinated into feminism, 1, she doesn't want to follow the lead of a man. 2, she doesn't want to submit to the authority of a man. 3, she doesn't want to go out here and respect the authority of a man or even regard a man as having value. So this woman wouldn't know her roles because she, 1, grew up in single mother households after her feminist mother walked away from her father. So you have 2 generations of women who are basically running lost, and that's why they don't know their roles. And in the case of the males, they don't know their roles because there was no father in the home and there were no men in the community. And because there were no men in the community, these men don't know how to be leaders. These men don't know how to be heads of household. These men don't know how to go out here and set order and set standards. No, what happens when you have a boy who's not raised with a father or any men in his life is that boy learns how to become a beta male. And instead of him looking to lead the woman in a traditional role, what he does is look to follow the woman. And as he looks to follow the woman, this causes even more friction because the woman is looking to the man for leadership and guidance in most cases. And she gets frustrated because this man doesn't know how to lead because he's learned how to be codependent because he's sitting under his mama. And because he's sitting under his mama, what happens is that this male doesn't know how to lead. So he doesn't know his role as a man because the only way for you to learn about manhood and masculinity is 1, surrendering your life to the Most High God and him being the head of your home, and 2, having a father in your life who can go out here and teach you how to be a man, because the world works differently for a black man than it does for any other man in this world. And the only way you can learn how to be a black man is if other black men are sitting there teaching you about the written and unwritten social rules of manhood. That is the only way you can learn about manhood. No, if there's no man there to teach you, what happens is you learn how to think like a female. And that's why we have a lot of males who don't know their roles. And we get a lot of these guys who grow up to become soft, a lot of these guys who grow up becoming submissive beta males. And what happens is many women become frustrated. They become angry because they want a man. And that the reason why they don't have a man is because their mother walked away from men back in the 1960s. And that's the reason why you don't have men in your communities. And all you have are a group of males. You have a group of males because she walked away from the man in order to get economic security from white men. What's going on, John Gilroy? Thank you for the super chat. Really glad that you appreciate the work I do in these streams. But I do these streams because, again, I want to break this stuff down so everybody can become educated about why there's a difference in the Black community than other communities. And again, the reason why you don't have people who don't know their traditional roles, again, is because we have no fathers in the community. And that's what white supremacy hoped to undermine. They didn't want to have fathers in the community because the father is the base of the community. And the father is the base of the community because that is what is directly connected to God's order, because the man gets all of his instruction and guidance from God. That's where the man gets all of his instruction and guidance. And if there are no men in the community to establish the structure and the order in the community, then nobody knows their roles. No, if there's no fathers or men in the community and a collective of men in the community, you're not going to have anybody who knows their roles. Whereas if you go to any other community, the first thing you're going to see are men running things. I mean, if you go to a Hispanic community or an Asian community or an Arab community, guess who's running all of the businesses? It is those Hispanic men, those Asian men, those Arab men, and they are the one who set the standards for that community. They are the one who set the rules for that community. They are the ones who set the order for that community. They are the ones who create the foundation for how people carry and conduct themselves. Unfortunately, in the Black community, Black men basically got undermined by two things. One was integration, because they wanted white acceptance, where men acquiesced because they wanted the favor of whites. And two, Black men were undermined because Black women wanted to join the white feminist movement, believing that the white feminists would allow them an opportunity to assimilate into America if they got jobs and were a part of the welfare state. And they wanted to do this because, again, they didn't trust the Black man to be able to provide for the family. And they didn't trust the Black man to be able to provide for the Black family, because the Black man's employment was constantly destabilized by white supremacy. Because, again, I go back to the talking point as related to many Black men out here, your job being unstable. This is something I experienced in my own life. I mean, any little arbitrary reason, a Black man would get threatened with losing his job or he would get fired. Meanwhile, a white guy or a Hispanic guy, if that same boss was having a bad day, what he would do is go out here, and what he would do is he would give that other guy a break. But when it came to that Black man, he wasn't giving him any breaks. I mean, if a Black man made as much a mistake as being 1 second late on a job, he's basically getting threatened with losing that job. And it becomes next to impossible for that man to get another job, because he runs into HR brick walls. And as he runs into HR brick walls set up not only by white supremacy, but Black women who are enforcers of white supremacy, that's what makes things hard for Black men. And she's sitting there wondering why those gender roles aren't instilled. But those gender roles aren't instilled because, again, white supremacy basically doesn't want those roles, because if people don't know their roles and they're running around confused, that makes it where white supremacy can keep Black people in a second-class status. And as they are in a second-class status, they can go out here and make 97% of $3.3 trillion in cash and credit and keep all the wealth out of the Black community, as the other 3% goes to the Black pastors, who go out here and further mislead Black people as related to their roles, because he's the first one who knows about all of the roles that are written in this Bible. I mean, the roles of men and women are written in this Bible in Genesis, but the pastor won't teach that at all. Moreover, the pastor won't also teach about what the Messiah has presented regarding those roles. No, the Black pastor remains silent on these subjects because he serves Mammon instead of the Most High and the Messiah. No, he serves Mammon, and that's why he's compromised with white supremacy. And that's why many Black men don't want to deal with the church, because the church is a bunch of guys who, again, have been compromised and are not looking to teach the gospel to people. And they are sort of like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, going out here not ever speaking the truth on the word to let people know what their roles are. Again, if you look at the Hispanic community, they have a Catholic church that is mostly men. If you look at the Arab community, the Muslim imam is going to insist that people know their roles. I mean, you can't go into an Islamic community, start talking about, oh, this feminism stuff. They will kick you out. No, they have a standard for their community. They have rules for their community. And what happened with Black people is, well, many of us got spellbound. And as we got spellbound, we see that many Black people were not really serving God to know their roles. No, they served white supremacy. They deified and worshiped white men and white women, and they saw them as gods, even though they are false gods. And instead of them learning the roles as related to the word of God, what these people have learned is, oh, the culture of America, and learned the culture of consumerism.
What your role is, and a woman's role is the nurturer, and if you have kids, the caregiver, and the man's role is the provider, and he brings in the money. He brings in the money, and the woman manages it, and that's how the household's supposed to run.
The Lancaster.
Now, this woman, again, is talking about traditional roles, and again, the reason why you don't have traditional roles is due to, again, the no foundation in God. And the reason why you don't have a woman who nurtures is, again, a feminist cannot nurture because a feminist is not a woman. I talk about this in depth in my book, The Woman Crisis. Again, there's a difference between a feminist and a woman. A feminist covets the role of a man. A feminist wants to have the power of a man. A feminist wants to be in the position of a man. So a feminist is not a nurturer at all. And any woman who is indoctrinating into feminism, she cannot go out here and take care of a child, because she basically does not love love being feminine, doesn't love being a woman, does not like anything about being a woman. She sees being a woman as weak. That's what happens with a feminist or a feminist indoctrinated woman. And that's the reason why you can't get a nurturer out of a feminist. So this woman sitting there saying, oh, the women don't know their traditional roles. Well, most women in America, most females in America, they don't know the role of being a woman, because in modern day America, we have devalued what being a woman is. We have basically said being a woman is worthless. Being a woman is something that is not worth anything. We have basically disrespected the role of women, and we have women out here who want to say, I'm a woman, but you're not a woman. No, a feminist, again, hates femininity. She hates softness. She hates the color pink. She hates being soft, and she hates it because she doesn't want to be vulnerable and doesn't want to submit to be covered by a man. No, a feminist wants to be in the leadership role of a man. She wants the power of a man. She wants to take the role of a man in God's order. And that's the thing that angers many feminists as they try to emulate what they think masculinity is. And I say try to emulate what they think masculinity is, because many of these women are on the outside looking in at manhood, but don't know what manhood is. And as they try to emulate masculinity, they emulate the worst traits of it, because they think masculinity is aggressiveness, masculinity is violence, masculinity is hostility, masculinity is cruelty. And that's not being a man at all. No, there are other aspects of masculinity out there. And there are other aspects of masculinity out there, like men's compassion, men's humanity, men's kindness, men's love. And these are things that the feminist doesn't understand about manhood. But meanwhile, while she covets the role of men, she devalues the role of women and doesn't want you to see that there is strength in the softness of women. And that's something I talk about in many of my books, like the Isis series and Spellbound, about the strength of women. Again, the strength of women is the strength of character, and that relates to the old African proverb that's related to the moral position of women. But the feminist doesn't want to talk about that whole aspect of womanhood. No, they want to covet the man's role. And because they want to covet the man's role, they want the power of the man. Unfortunately, they don't want the responsibility of a man. No, they'll leave that to the people in government and big business. But that these women don't want to nurture anyone. No, they want to, again, be like a man. They don't know how to nurture anyone, because in their world, everything is about being masculine and identifying with masculine traits. They don't know what femininity is, nor do they know about the beauty of femininity or the strength of femininity. They don't know anything about those aspects of life. So these women, these feminists, again, a feminist and a woman, two different things. So you're asking her to be in that nurturing role. Well, a feminist can't nurture just the same way a beta male can't lead. And when you have both of these individuals in your community is going to go nowhere. So this is why you're having all these issues about money in your community, because you have a feminist who wants to go out here and covet the role of a man. She wants to be in the protector and provider role. She wants to be the one with the power. She wants to be the one running the show. And as she looks to run the show, you have the beta male who wants to have the power as related to being a leader, but because he's emotional, he doesn't know how to lead. He doesn't know how to set a direction. And as these two come together in relationships, this causes friction. And it causes friction because both of them, again, are fighting over money. And they're fighting over money because money is a foundation for power for them. And it's a foundation for power for them because they don't know their roles as men and women. And they don't want to go to those traditional roles because, one, the feminist doesn't want to submit to the authority of the man. And the beta male doesn't want to go out here and take the leadership role in some cases because he's overwhelmed by the power and the responsibility. While some of these guys enjoy having the money to show out, they're not really ready to take on the responsibilities of a man, because taking on the responsibilities of a man means you have to look out for all the people in your family. You have to look out for your woman. You have to look out for your children. And again, beta males don't really want to look out for anyone because they want social currency. They want to be able to go out here and be able to get with women and be able to use them to clout chase and elevate their social status. They will go out here and look to get the attention and approval of women in the hopes of getting them to drop the skid mark jockey thong and be able to get a taste of the atomic waste. And they are able to, that's all they want from the women, because that'll get them the attention of other men and the approval of other men. So these guys really, again, not fit for leadership and not really good long-term thinkers, whereas many of these feminist indoctrinated women, they're not really good at leading as related to the home and managing the home. So neither one knows their traditional roles, but they all are just, again, lost and confused. So Valor makes a good point. Yeah, 100 years, only single mothers worked outside the home. That's one part of it. 100 years ago, women did work. They worked when they were young. And when they got married, they stopped working because they understood their job was managing the home. That's what I've read from all my research. And from what I've talked to older relatives who were out here, they told me that mostly it was like maybe 20-something women worked. And usually by the time a woman got maybe 22, 23, she got married. And then as she got married, what happened with that woman was she wound up looking to be the manager of that home because she understood teaching the children was the most important thing. So that woman usually wanted to leave the jobs. They didn't think about jobs because usually back in the places like the 40s and the 50s and even the 60s, a woman who stayed at the job too long, the people looked at her with a side eye. They thought she was a spinster, and they went out here and basically said she was on the road to being a spinster if she was out here and she didn't have a husband by a certain age. That was one of the points that I put in my novel Spinsterella, because Matilda was 40 years old. And the whole thing is that once a woman gets past a certain age, she wasn't really want to stay in that job too long because she didn't want to be there. Now, when it came to Black women, it was a completely different story. A lot of Black women had to work because, again, a Black man's wages were undermined by white supremacy, so he was only able to get low-level entry jobs. So the Black mother had to go out here and work as well. And in many cases, we had laws like the Black Codes that made it where Black women were mandated to work, whereas a white woman didn't have to work. A Black woman was mandated to work. And again, a lot of people don't really understand the whole history of women working, but when women went out here, again, they worked for a little while, but they wanted to go to their husband. But a lot of Black women never really got that opportunity because, again, white supremacy always looked to undermine the roles of Black men and Black women. What's going on, G-Boot 2786? I'm talking about a video that one of my viewers sent me on Instagram of this woman talking about the gender roles of Black women and Black men and talking about how Black people are always fighting about money. That's what tonight's live is all about. And this video, again, I wanted to go in depth on it and do a reaction to it. I wanted to do a video where I would go out here and really go in depth on it because this woman, as she was talking, again, clearly doesn't know the roles of why Black men and Black women don't know their roles. And the reason why Black men and Black women don't know their roles is, one, many Black pastors don't teach this in church. Two, you have white supremacy that undermined the Black community's economy. And three, you had a lot of Black people who, again, were indoctrinated into the feminist movement. And as they were indoctrinated into the feminist movement, many of those folks really did not learn their roles. And because they don't know their roles, what's happened to the Black community is you have the blind leading the blind. And as the blind lead the blind, both fall into a ditch. And Valor makes a good point. Yeah, when women began working, wages plummeted because of all of these people out here. Again, that really destroyed the wages. And that's what was done by design. I talk about this in The Woman Crisis. This was designed by white supremacy. They wanted to cut the wages. Corporate America wanted to cut the wages. And they wanted to have two people paying taxes at the same time. This is something I learned from Mad Voodoo Man, aka the Iceman. And they wanted to go out here and be able to make money off of two incomes. And they wanted to undermine the wages of union workers. And they also wanted to undermine the wages of skilled workers. So that's why they wanted women in the workforce, because they could pay them less. And a lot of those women, even though we have things like the equal pay law, because there's a large supply of workers, this basically lowers the value of those wages. So this is something that's out here, that's been out here, and keeps it 100 all the time. Yeah, you make a good point. Yeah, Black women always had to work. Again, this was mandated by the Black Codes in the South. I mean, if you go read your history about Black women in work, Black women were mandated to work because they wanted to keep the Black women working as related to slavery. So that was even after the Emancipation Proclamation. There were Black codes put in place in places like the South to make Black women work. Meanwhile, a white woman could go out here and stay in her home, and the same thing with non-Black women. So that also made it an issue. But even then, Black women did know their roles. But the real problem why they don't know their roles is because many Black women were into feminism, and because they were indoctrinated into feminism, what happens is many of those women don't learn their roles because the Black pastor doesn't teach. And again, the mother doesn't teach. She doesn't know her role. So again, it's the blind leading the blind, and both winding up falling into a ditch. So Valor makes another good point. If women dropped out of the workforce, wages would double, and there would be, again, labor shortages, because in America's economy, most of the people working are women. I mean, a majority of the workers today are women. And that is, again, by design, because most of these corporate bosses don't want to deal with men because, one, men go out here and form unions. Two, men go out here and push back against bosses. And a lot of bosses, they want to deal with submissive employees, and they want the woman to submit to them in the workforce. However, they tell that same woman not to submit to a man. And that's one of the things that causes friction about money in relationships, because the woman is like, I make my own money, so I don't need you, and I don't need to respect you as a man. I don't need to respect you as a leader. I don't need to follow your lead because I have my own money. And this is what makes a lot of Black folks think, oh, Black people are the only ones to talk about money in relationships. Well, we have our own unique issues as related to money in relationships, and we have our own unique issues as related to money in relationships, because we need to have money because we don't have our own economic infrastructure like whites and non-Blacks do. And we used to have pieces of infrastructure, like we had our own hair care, we had hair care and barbering, we had our own businesses. Unfortunately, what has happened is you get a lot of people who basically wanted white acceptance, and they didn't want to own their own businesses, because we got a lot of Black folks who are spellbound. And because they are spellbound and they want to, again, fit into the Black boxes that are acceptable to white people, they would rather work for a white man than own their own businesses, and again, teach traditional roles to their children about leadership and taking responsibility. No, what these individuals want to do is go out here and look to get into it, and that's related to being accepted. And again, as they're looking to be accepted, they just don't really want to go out here and follow the lead of another man. And again, they don't want to go out here and follow the lead of those Black men. And that's why you have a lot of these women out here who are sitting there, I don't know my role, like this woman does, and wants to say, oh, all these other communities know their roles. But the reason why those other communities know their roles is because they kept their families intact. They valued what their families were all about. But the Black community, we had a lot of people who didn't value being Black, did not take pride in being Black, do not have a love for being Black. And because they don't love being Black, they don't love the Black family. They don't love being a part of a Black family. And because they don't love being a part of a Black family, this is why we don't pass down the values and traditions of a family and the roles of a Black family. No, they wanted to be a part of greater white society. And that's why we wound up destroying many of our communities that were built by Black people, like Sugar Hill in Harlem and many other Black neighborhoods. I mean, we did this. And again, we want to sit there and say, oh, Black people are the only ones to talk about money. Yeah, money is a major part of Black issues, because again, a Black man's employment is constantly destabilized by a white supremacy undermining Black men. And the whole thing is that you've got a lot of Black women out here who don't understand that Black man, he's looking to you to be a helpmeet and a support, but you can't be a helpmeet and a support if you've been imbibing a lot of feminism and imbibing a lot of feminist culture. You can't be a woman who wants to support a man if you've got feminist ideas in your head, because the feminist ideas are going to make you think of that man as less than, not respect that man. And that's something that is a big problem with a lot of women who don't know their roles. They don't understand that the man, you need to understand how to help him, but they don't know how to help him. They all they know how to do is compete, like Valor says. I wrote about this in The Woman Crisis. They don't know how to work with you. They only know how to work against you, because for you, you're an adversary and an enemy. Meanwhile, they work to go out here and go out here and be a helpmeet and support the white supremacy. That's what they do out here. They look to go out here and be a helpmeet to the white supremacists because they'll submit to that boss to work overtime. They'll submit to that boss to go out here and do the extra work. But if that black man asks you to go out here and take out the trash, she'll be like, I don't want to take out no garbage. That's your job. And that's what they do. And again, this is where the man basically it gets disrespected and emasculated. So that's what happens. And again, I'm listening to this video that my viewers sent me, and I just had to go in depth on it in the stream because I couldn't just do a video on this. I really wanted to go further in depth, and that's what I wanted to do with this stream. Now, XXX, he says, thanks for the super chat. He says, thanks for giving props to the Iceman. I got to give props to Mad Voodoo Man, the AKA the Iceman, because a lot of stuff that I learned came from him. I mean, he helped me learn a lot about simps. He helped me learn a lot about white supremacy and its effect on the black community. He taught me a lot about the whole thing with feminism, creating the rift between black men and black women. I mean, he's one of the best channels on YouTube. I mean, he's not on all the time like he used to, but when he was out here back in 2010, 2011, I mean, he was a major source of information that helped me be able to help shape my early books like Stop Simping. And Mad Voodoo Man, aka the Iceman, again, he's a brilliant man. And I got to give him his respect. Like I got to give guys like David Carroll and Brother of Logic and Common Sense and Mr. Superboy their respect. I mean, and Jibu 2786. Again, these are good brothers. And again, these are the kind of brothers that know their roles. But most black women today, they don't know how to work with those kinds of men. No, they don't know how to work with those kinds of men like I talked about, and guys like Ringo. Again, these are brothers who are on point, brothers who know what they're doing. And again, these women will sit there and talk about, that nobody teaches our roles. Well, again, you got to go back and do your research, go back and check out your history, go out here and learn why you don't know your roles, because the reason why you don't know your roles is, again, because I will say it once more. I know it's repeating, but the black pastor didn't teach those roles where he was supposed to in church. The black woman has been indoctrinated into feminism where she thinks men and women are the same and believes that she has to do the same thing as a black man and believes she can have the same power as a man. This is the reason why neither of you know their roles. And again, this is why you're walking around confused. This is why you're looking for a man to lead, but he cannot lead. And this is why you got a dude who just doesn't know who he is, and a woman trying to lead a man, trying to dominate a man, emasculate a man like a child, and then wondering why things aren't working. And as she's out here with this money, again, thinking that she can go out here and control a man with some money, all of this is just a complete mess. Again, a complete mess, because you've got people who don't know who they are. And again, when I watched that whole video, which is under fair use of United States copyright law, I forgot to put the disclaimer up, but I looked at this video that the viewers sent me as related to traditional gender roles. And again, you can't have traditional gender roles where you have women who have been taught feminism, because women who are taught feminism don't want to be a part of traditional roles. They consider that sexist. They consider that demeaning. They consider that less than. They want to be in that man's role. So this woman is sitting there wondering why black people are talking about money in relationships. Well, the base of money, again, goes back to the racism that black people run into. And again, that racism also teaches them not to see a black man as a human being, because when you learn traditional roles, you learn to see a person as a human being. And because you learn how to see people as human beings, you learn to respect another human being, and you learn to regard another human being. That's something that many black women don't know how to do under the system of feminism. They don't know how to respect or regard a man as a human being. They don't know how to respect him at all. So she's sitting there saying, oh, they don't know those roles. Well, you don't know those roles because, again, you were never taught those roles. You were never taught these things. And because you were never taught these things, you were never able to learn what this is. And because you were never taught to learn what this is, what happens is, again, this is why many people are confused, like the person who is in this video. The person in this video is just completely confused. And again, this is what happens when the blind lead the blind. They both fall into a ditch because there's no man to be the head and lead and teach. And this is why guys like Ringo are important, because master teachers can go out here and teach and try to get you to understand what your role are. Then this is the big problem. Again, she's sitting there, oh, we don't know our role. Well, you've not been taught your role because, again, corporate America don't want you to know your role because they want you to be a consumer and give them 97% of your money. So the whole situation with this whole video, again, talking about money in relationships, this is something that I wanted to go further in depth on. And I wanted to go further in depth on it because I wanted people to learn about why you always seeing Black folks arguing about money, because money is the only thing that people have been taught that is valuable in relationships. I mean, this is what we've been taught, to value money over people. And again, goes back to the pastor who goes out here and serves mammon and does not serve the Most High. Goes back to the pastor who goes out here and shows in his actions he serves mammon. This is what we see with the Black pastor. And this is why we see everybody basically being confused. We see all of this confusion, and she's sitting there not understanding the big picture. I mean, I wish I could sit down and talk to this woman or get her to read one of my books, like Why 70% of Black Women Are Single or The Woman Crisis, because both of those books basically break down in depth what the problem is as related to this whole situation. Both of those books basically break down what this woman's issues are as related to the lack of traditional roles. And the book that really explains the traditional roles, the Bible, this book basically explains all about the traditional roles. And this was the book that I used as the foundation for most of my books, like Why 70% of Black Women Are Single and The Woman Crisis, because I see all of these lost, confused people. I see all of these lost, confused people out here who don't know what their roles are. And again, don't know their roles because feminists say, oh, being a submissive woman is sexist. Being a helpmeet to a man is sexist. You don't need a man. You can go out here and do it on your own. Well, God did not make you to do it on your own. No, God made it for a man and a woman to work together. God made it for a man and a woman to follow the lead of a man. And he wants you to follow the lead of a man because the man is his head. The man is his steward. The man is the one he has a direct connection to. The man is the one he gives guidance to. This is the leader that he established, but they don't want men like that out here. No, in our age of what they call SJW or woke, they say that those men are evil. They say that those men are bad, but those men are not bad. Those are men who are servants of the Most High. Those are men looking to do the work of the Most High and meet the standards of the Most High. These are the men that are out here, and nobody respects those kinds of men. No, what they do is go out here and make mockery of those men. And as they make mockery of those men, you have people wondering, oh, how can I find out what it means to be a man? Well, that's what you have boys asking and girls asking. What are these roles? Well, again, the way you find out about those roles is to go out here and read your Bible. That's how you find out about these roles. You find out about these roles and you learn about them by reading your Bible. That's how you find out about these roles. And that's how you find out about how to be a part of those roles, because you want to know why these women, again, don't nurture. Again, because a feminist cannot nurture you because she wants the power of a man. She's jealous of a man, and she's jealous of the seed of a man. So she's not looking to go out here and nurture anybody because she thinks that being a man is being hard and aggressive. Again, exaggerating what a man is, because men do nurture, and it's a natural part of a man to nurture his daughters so that the mother could discipline. It's a natural part of a mother for a father to nurture his daughters, because it's the love that a father shows the daughter that makes it where that daughter knows that she is loved. And when that daughter knows that she is loved, that gives her the emotional security to go look for a man like her father who has modeled manhood for her. But in our feminist society, we're taught, oh, a man is nothing and no one. We're taught that feminine women are no good. And this is the problem that is out here as related to this video. Again, this woman needs guidance from guys who know the roles, guys like master teachers like Ringo, guys like Pastor Dow. They need real guidance. And again, when I listen to this whole video, again, I really wanted to go in depth on it because, again, when I looked into it, she's talking about money, but the feminist needs money. And again, you do need money to live, but God is the provider of all resources. And again, the Black people's money issues are again tied to white supremacy, and white supremacy not going out here and making it where Black people can go out here and compete. I mean, white supremacy is one of the reasons why we have all the issues with money, because again, when you don't control your economy and don't control your dollars, what happens is you have money issues like I struggle with for years, because I try to get jobs and I would run into the HR brick wall. And that's the thing that makes it where a lot of Black men cannot go out here and lead, go out here and build, and go out here and handle business. I mean, this is the thing that makes it where there are issues with money, because the woman is one making money, wondering, why can't that man make money? Well, that man, he was going out here, he's trying to apply for jobs, he's trying to apply for go to interviews, and he's getting blown off, and he's getting disrespected. And even if he gets a job, he gets disrespected. And then he comes home and he's making less money. And the woman is sitting there wondering what's wrong. Well, what's wrong is, again, when you're in a white supremacist society that is anti-Black, they don't really want the Black man out here working. They don't want the Black man out here making a living, because they don't want to compete with the Black man. And because they don't want to compete with the Black man, what happens is that Black man can't make a living and have a stable income. And if he doesn't have a stable income, that destabilizes his ability to have relationships, because it's hard to have relationships where your money is unstable. It's hard to go out here and do things that you want to do. That's one of the things I have a lament about being 50 years old. There's a lot of things I wanted to do and accomplish, but I just did not have the money, because you run into things, again, this resistance from both Black and white. So it's a real issue again. And again, Black couples, yes, we deal with money, but our money issues are really tied to white supremacy, whereas other people's issues as related to money are really tied to their consumerism and them trying to, again, maintain their lifestyle. I mean, with whites, non-Blacks, Hispanics, they again have their money tied to a lifestyle. So Black people's money is again completely different. Our economic situation is tied to racism and white supremacy and being denied opportunities. And that's the thing that frustrates a lot of Black people and leads to many Black relationships falling completely apart. But the whole thing is that we have to just keep persevering and keep pushing. And that's what old Black folks used to do. Even though they didn't have the money, they had love. And the only way we can find love is if we go out here and seek out the Most High and seek out the kingdom. That's the only way we can go out here and find out where we want to find that security as related to ourselves. So that's where we have to seek out the kingdom, because we have to go out here and find that stability in the Most High, because that's the only place where we can get our stability to, again, be able to love each other and learn about the roles in God's order. So I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. And before I wrap up tonight's stream, I'm again going to ask everybody to, on my birthday, to go pick up my books like John Haynes 1987 and John Haynes Godbreaker on Amazon.com, because I really want you guys to pick up some of my positive Black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint. And I really would have greatly appreciated if you guys would pick up some of the books on the SJS Direct imprint. So that's something that I'm asking everybody to do on my birthday, is pick up some of my books. And also, I'm asking everybody, to head over to Lulu.com to pick up the first full John Haynes comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, which is available on Lulu.com, so you can get a paper copy of the 2022 Kickstarter comic. And I'm hoping you guys will go out here and pick up the comic. Again, I want to go out here and do more comics, and I really want to go out here and do more comics, and I can only do that with your help. So if you guys would pick up the books, that is one way of helping out. And another way you guys can help out is by going out here and dropping donations to the Cash App or the PayPal, because that helps me to be able to pay for pages of things like comics and pay for book covers. So I really want to go out here and, again, be able to do that next comic, and I can only do that with your help. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to my stream that's on my 50th birthday. I want to really thank you guys for all coming out, and I really was glad to talk about this subject. And before I wind up going off on the stream, I got to put up a fair use notice, because I did use that file. So I got to go out here and put the fair use up there, because you got people. Do I have it? Hold on. Let me see. Okay. I do have a fair use. So I got to put this fair use up, because you got people out here who will say that, oh, you were out here misusing this footage. Well, I'm using it under fair use, and I used it under fair use because I really wanted to go out here and talk in depth on this subject. And thank you, Rob IS. I want to go out here and produce more SJS Direct books and SJS Direct comics. And I want to, again, get working on new comics right now. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.